and thanks for joining the midweek edition of Thursday edition of Journalist Hangout. I am Veronica Boy. Today on Journalist Hangout, FG orders Kachikwu to end fuel scarcity before weekend. Buhari visits and urged Kano to seek re-election, and later on the show, cut unfreezes Patience Jonathan's account. I will be hanging out with Babajide Kolade Otitoju, Wale Adeoye, and Tulu Lokwe. Gentlemen, thanks for coming on the show.
Yeah, good for having me.
Journalist Hangout starts now. Well, more than 1 year of relief from scarcity of petroleum products has been broken. The long queues came back to filling stations as fuel became scarce. Lagos and Abuja are the worst hit. Nigerians lose man-hours in attempts to purchase the commodity, while those who already have get stuck in traffic gridlock as a result of long queues. It becomes a time for black marketers to make a quick buck, and some unscrupulous oil marketers also take advantage of the situation. Most Nigerians are worried the situation could extend to Christmas and adversely affect the festivities. They are panic buying because of speculations that there would be an increase in price of fuel. On Wednesday, the federal government gave marching orders to the Minister of State for Petroleum, Kachikwu, to clear the queues before weekend. The government denied insinuations that the current fuel scarcity is a ploy to increase the pump price of petrol. It blamed the scarcity on increased demand by nations in temperate regions, but oil marketers say otherwise. They faulted the Nigeria National Petroleum Corporation, NNPC, for alleged favoritism in the distribution of petrol. What is happening? Tolu, you cover this aspect for us here. So you tell us, what really is the situation?
Well, great to be here again. Well, it's a pathetic situation for us to go back to having long queues at our filling stations. It's really not a welcome development. But there are lots of issues, and one thing we need to understand is there was an issue with supply. Let's all admit there was a dislocation with supply.
Okay.
The products at the depots now is not even up to what they used to have. I was there yesterday, and we had figures. Some had 2-3 million. Some had 15, 30, but when they explain to you the distribution chain of those products they have, you know that they are just housing those products. They don't have the right to actually distribute those products on their own. PPMC has their products there. Some other major marketers have their products there. The other issue there is everyone knows that there's an ongoing construction on the Apapa-Oshodi Expressway, particularly the road that leads to the port end, and that's where we have the tank farms located. At the moment, there is no clear cut. You can't get to these depots. The road is really bad, and there's no alternative route to get to the tank farms. So how do you expect truck drivers to maneuver? So now truck drivers have to go through other routes that are not really very comfortable before they can get to those routes, before they go through the area boys, military personnel that have to clear the road for them. So even getting to the tank farm could even have products, and trucks can't even get into access into this. So how would they move out? So, you know, a lot of factors came together to actually bring this issue down. And if it's not checked, it's going to it might get to the Christmas season. We might be like this until it gets to that season. So telling the Kachikwu to go and get things to work before weekend would just be a short-term solution. And what would be that solution? They will increase supply. That's increase distribution chain. But why don't we look for a long-term solution?
All right, we'll get to all of that solution and whether long or short, but let me bring Jide in now. Nupeng is attributing the scarcity to a certain cabal at the downstream sector, hindering the flow of the product, and also saying that they are not allowing the FG, do some things, especially the construction or talking about the refineries, making sure that they get back to work. Can we also attribute the scarcity to this?
People talk about the refineries all the time. Even yesterday, while we argued even about things that were not true, people were talking about refineries. But the refineries, the Nigerian refineries have long been a cesspool of corruption. The turnaround maintenance of refineries have offered opportunities to people to become billionaires. And within a few months, the refineries will be back to their pre-turnaround maintenance state. So that's why some of us wanted those refineries sold. You know, Obasanjo delayed so long, you know, and by the time Yar'Adua came, he thought that the process was not transparent. The process of selling the refinery was not transparent. So the refineries would have been bought by the like of Dangote at that time, but Yar'Adua came and stopped the transaction. So they remained Nigerian refinery owned by the Nigerian state. Now, you must have read that the Senate is kicking against the huge sum of money that they are asking for again to do a turnaround of this maintenance. We can't be, even if all the Nigerian refineries are working at their installed capacity, they can't satisfy our needs. These refineries were built in the 60s. Forget the lie that President Buhari constructed one of them that was so common during the election. Buhari never built any refinery. The refineries were built in the 60s, and in the 60s, even by the 1963 population census, we were just in the region of 50 to maybe 56 million. But today, look at Nigeria. Nigeria is a lot bigger. Yeah. Our consumption of petroleum is by far higher than at that time. Yes. So even at installed capacity, they can't satisfy our needs. And remember, depreciation is setting. Those refineries they are old. Refineries that were constructed, like the Kano refinery, for example, was constructed by Chiyoda of Japan. When we want to do turnaround maintenance, we will bring DBN from France. DBN, Chiyoda would naturally have been the best people to come. They know their way around the refinery they constructed. But you go and bring a different firm, they will come, they will not do it well. After a while, you're asking for fresh money. Because some of these things, in my view, are deliberate ploys by civil servants to continue to steal money through the refinery. So I'm not surprised that the Senate...
that they are talking about?
They are part of... these people who are talking in general terms. They could be among the cabal. The word cabal is very loosely used now in Nigeria. They could be amongst them, you know. But the thing is, we need to address the problem. This problem, I said it yesterday on this program repeatedly, you know, and clearly I was talking to a wall because the people didn't believe me. You can only, people that we sat here chose not to believe me. You can only hoard when there is supply disequilibrium. I mean, this is commonsensical. When everybody has fuel, look, if this problem, if they flood the state, Lagos, with fuel, this problem will go down. It has happened in the past. But when some people have and others don't have, that is when the few who have can hoard. Because petroleum evaporates. It's in your business to sell it when you have it. It evaporates. Everybody who is in that business will tell you. So it is when there isn't enough supply. And I will remember that we had even run stories about Ipman had complained about these supply issues. I think was it 3 weeks ago that you people ran the story. Yeah. They even threatened to go on strike.
Yes, which is
you remember?
Yes.
So now we have this problem. People are not thinking about where the problem came from. We have to know where the problem came from. Korodo warned since last year that by the time they start repairing that road, there will be supply issues. He's listening to me. He said there will be supply issues if they don't find a way to get these vehicles to get to the tank farms.
But that road has to be repaired, Wale. That route has to be repaired. So what other alternatives can we have to ensure that there aren't supply issues?
Well, I think in the first place, we need to admit that this is perhaps the longest period we've had that we don't have a major fuel crisis, at least almost about 2.5 years now in recent times. But we thought the government, you know, has been able to resolve the problem. But suddenly now we have this recurrent problem of fuel hike. It shows that the government is not living up to its promise, because we are giving the promise that this government will ensure fuel supply, and that there will be no scarcity. I think it boils down to lack of strategic thinking, lack of planning on the part of the government. Because a responsible government with experienced people will know that when at this period, December, there is, people travel a lot.
Demand.
There is high demand. So you will have made plans for the past 5 months, that, okay, we are coming to December. What is the strategic plan to ensure that the supply chain is unbroken? So I think it's a reflection of incompetence, no matter what kind of excuse we want to give. And I think the fundamental issues
Incompetence on the part
of the government.
Okay.
And I think no matter, how we look at this problem, there are 2 major issues we need to address: production and distribution. We are an oil-producing country. There is no justification why we have to continue to import fuel. We need to find a final solution where Nigeria will be able to also be a major production of oil as it used to be in the past. Unless we tackle that problem, it will go and come back again to us.
All right, Tolu. Now, there are also talks about the federal government said that it is not a ploy to increase the pump price, but then it always starts with a rumor.
Exactly, and that's the way it starts, really. For the ex-depot price, as it is now, it stands at 133.38 kobo. But when, just like Sojide said, when you have issues with supply, definitely you're going to have issues like this, and that's when people start hurting. But when you're talking about hike in price, the IPMAN guys, that's the Independent Petroleum Marketers Association of Nigeria, they buy from NNPC because they've not been able to import because of the forex issues, and they still have outstanding subsidies of 2016 that the government has not settled as we speak. So there is no sane marketer that will use his or her funds money to import petroleum products. So only government imports petroleum products. So definitely some people will want to take advantage of this process and might want to hike the price. There have been allegations and counter-allegations of marketers having 2 different accounts. You pay the normal amount into a particular account, and you pay the extra amount into another account. So that when your voucher and your papers are being stamped, it will read that normal price. All this could lead to artificial hike. But this hike federal government is talking about that's from the NNPC. But NNPC is saying for now, nothing like that will happen. Well, let's still believe them for now. Let's because the government will become very unpopular. But the IPMAN guys are very important. They have more than 900 filling stations, yes. Lagos and Ogun State just alone. So anything that has to do with getting petroleum products across to them, the government really needs to be strategic about that. Let them have the products and supply products. But for the price thing, let's still believe them. Like they said, it won't go up.
The marketers spoke with you about the amount they buy.
Yes.
Why it is on it. Tell us about that.
They talked about the independent marketers. Yes. For the major marketers, they could be they might not get it at a fast pace. They will take some time before they will get the products because they have to go through the normal process. But some people would like to cut corners. So they talked about
figures, especially the figures they gave you.
133.38. That's 133 naira. That's per liter for 1 liter, and you now sell at 143, between 143 and 145. That's the range. Do you understand?
In Lagos.
In Lagos, yes. So it's clear. It's clear. If you're a marketer, anybody that wants to take the product outside Lagos will be ready to pay more because they sell above pump price outside Lagos. All
right, okay. We need to quickly take this break and return to talk more on this topic. Stay with us. Yes, watching Journalists Hangout, and before we went on break, Tolu, you were telling us about the way it works.
So even some of these marketers have come out to say the landing cost now is more on the high side. Don't forget the price of crude is also going.
It has gone up.
It has gone up.
Yeah.
So the landing cost of petroleum product now is on the high side. So no marketer will want to get involved except government is ready to pay subsidy, and government is not ready to pay subsidy anymore.
And the more the price of petroleum of crude oil goes up in the international market, the higher the landing cost of refined petroleum products. Because the refined petroleum is going to be costlier than crude oil. You get the point. So the landing cost will definitely go up.
with all the charges and all of that. So it's important because now the DPR has said they should focus on Lagos and states around, flood everywhere. What about the hinterlands? What about other states?
Yes.
When will it get there?
Yeah.
We can't sustain moving petroleum products on the road. It's not even, it doesn't make sense economically. Look at our budget.
They can't even
fix our
sustain.
roads and we'll still move these trucks on
Those
the
roads are not good. That's why some of those tankers are toppling over and all that before they even get there.
Sustain it.
It's because of the constant breaching of petroleum pipelines by vandals and petrol thieves that they stopped. Because in the past, growing up, we had these depots in different states. Depots, pipelines will lead to them, and people can, So, but now they no longer send petrol through those pipelines because you are not sure. In fact, Kachikwu was telling us that on a particular occasion, they decided to test it with water. But because even in NNPC, the cartel, always feeds their boys with information and all that. So they told them that they were going to sell petroleum products through the pipeline. They didn't know that it was water they were going to sell. So those vandals were already waiting, and they broke pipelines only to discover that it was water. So even the people who laid the pipelines were not thinking, because if you laid pipelines very deep or you electrify those pipelines, nobody will be able to tamper with them. So going forward now, we are going to lay new pipelines, especially now that Dangote Refinery will come on stream. They have to take them very, very deep so that these boys, it will be a disincentive to petrol thieves.
Beyond that, Wally, how do we solve this problem of distribution beyond the pipelines?
Yeah, you need an effective security system, because if you lay pipelines all the time and they are broken, what is the work of the intelligence community in terms of identifying people that are responsible for this? Because in every community there are traditional rulers who know these people that are responsible for this pipeline vandalization. So the government should be able to impose necessary sanctions, get those people that are responsible, and ensure that the law takes its course. But in a situation where people feel they can vandalize pipelines and nothing happens to them, then you are trying to embolden them to continue to carry out that crime. So it's about security, community security. Then it's about the DSSS. What are they doing about protecting, the police, the army, and all that? So they need an effective, security system. And also the road network needs to be improved.
We have Mukhtar on the line calling from Kano. Are you there?
Yes.
All right, go ahead with your contribution.
Okay. Hello. Good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening.
Yeah.
My contribution is that, you see, Nigerians are already experiencing hardship. And with this scarcity, the hardship will increase. If the fuel prices or the pump price increases, there is going to be an increase in almost all the products in the market. And as such, inflation will set in. Already people are suffering, and we are now going through another hardship. So please, people are already, complaining about the food, the hunger in the land, and now it will increase because people's income do not increase. So I think you are the eyes of the people, you the journalists. If you can please tell the government to do something, at the right time. Otherwise, the hardship will increase. Thank you.
The federal government has told the Kachikwu to do something before the weekend. Does he have the magic wand?
Yeah, I think he should be able to do something, but he has to work with these marketers. And the marketers need to also come out and talk. They should make this public. If anybody is selling above X depot price, since government is bringing these products in, they should make it public. They should let people know. Because some maybe the fear of saying maybe they might not supply them products again, or maybe they might sabotage them maybe one way or the other. They might be scared, I don't know. But they should come out and let us know what is happening so that we can have a free flow. And there should be an alternative route. They have to work on getting to Apapa. Yes. Because that's the only way, that's the only place where depots are at the moment. So let there be an alternative route to get to the tank farms. And when they get to the tank farms, they don't spend another 1 week to come out of the tank farm. so that they can move. Once people can move, get the product, NNPC makes these vessels we're expecting, they come in like they said. If they come in, they flood the market, but we still need a lasting solution, which is making other depots across the country functional if we can use the rail system.
We have Jibril on the line. Jibril, are you there?
Yes, I'm from there.
All right, go ahead with your contribution.
Okay, good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
Good evening, Jibril.
This is Jibril calling from Maiduguri.
You're welcome.
As Babajide was saying, I don't think it is, what do you call it, rocket science.
Jibril? All right, I guess the connection there, something was wrong with the connection. Now, you talked about, Tolu, you talked about the products available, about 51.
51.
And Ibe Kachikwu said something about that being enough till the end of the product that is available is enough till the end of January. From your estimation?
No. I think that must be with what they're expecting. The vessels they're expecting. This would last, according to the DPR official yesterday, this will take between 1 week. This is supposed to last. But they're expecting some vessels. According to them, they said in 48 hours, and that was yesterday. So maybe by tomorrow, they should start. They said it's going to be a ship-to-ship transfer today. So maybe from tomorrow, these vessels will get
I think also that because we are used to this problem, there are usually vessels on the high seas waiting.
Yeah.
So when you have this peculiar situation, you know, they can just talk to them, bring in. So they are always there, ready to sell.
Yes.
So that's why if he gets this kind of matching order, he can respond to it appropriately. But I just hope that we can find a lasting solution. We have ports in different parts of the country. Why don't we find a way to dredge some of those ports so that these big vessels don't all come to Lagos? So if big vessels can go to Port Harcourt, for example, people in the south, they can service the south. Then,
and then to the north.
And then, what's it called? To the north, where there's no seaport. Seaport that I can think about, you know. But at least, if we can take care of south and southeast, let those ones use the Port Harcourt port, you know, to take the product. Then maybe until we find a solution, then the rest of Nigeria can come to Lagos.
We have Emeka on the line calling from Kano. Emeka, are you there?
Yes.
Yes, please go ahead.
Yes, let me tell you, the discussion is that we are not an oil-producing nation. Not an oil-producing nation. We are not an oil-producing nation.
We are.
We are oil-consuming nation because we are only exporting the crude and we import the refine and import the finished crude. And what it means that at the end of the day, what will happen is that the importer, the importer from you, won't send it to you at a less cost. Understand me? They can't send the crude back to us at a less cost. We are oil consuming nation.
All right, Emeka believes we are more of a consuming nation.
We don't even take advantage.
I don't even know what to say.
We don't even take advantage of the refine. We just go refine the crude. There are lots of other benefits we're supposed to get from if we refine here, but we are losing it out. Everything just goes abroad and we just bring in finished products and still sell for us at a high price.
All right, Wale, do you have anything else to say?
Well, I'm just worried that it's good that the president has given that instruction to the Minister of State for Petroleum. But I'm worried why the future of 170 million people should be tied to just the action of one single person. So it boils down to the character of the Nigerian state. Because I see no reason why Lagos State, for instance, cannot take responsibility for fuel distribution, production, and supply in this territory, given the industrial base of this area. But the federal government still wants to control everything. You can't build wharf. I mean, seaport in Port Harcourt. The federal government has to come and do seaport in River State. Why can't those state governments be allowed to build those things so that they can take off these things from the federal government? So we need to unbundle the nation to make it more democratic.
Jide, last words.
I think that whatever will inflict pain on the Nigerian people. This government must not do it. Fuel price must not go up now. The inflation that we have was triggered by the increase in pump price, price of petrol. And secondly, this is December, more people will travel. The government must solve this problem so that the pains that our people are going through. You can say it's in Lagos, it's coming down. How about our people up north and in other places?
Yeah, right.
You know, let's find a way to not inflict pain on our people. All the hope that Kachikwu and other people have is that Dangote Refinery will come on stream in 2019 and it will give us 650 million barrels a day.
Yes, you're watching Journalist Hangouts. Now, President Muhammadu Buhari is not a quitter. He contested in 3 presidential elections before he achieved a historic victory in 2015. He became the first opposition candidate to defeat an incumbent. To many Nigerians, that victory has translated into nothing but sheer pain, sorrow, and suffering. They allege that Buhari has failed in the handling of Boko Haram, the economy, and other issues in the country. But not everyone shares that opinion, as thousands trooped out to welcome President Buhari during a courtesy visit to Kano State, where he also inaugurated some projects. His supporters urged him to seek re-election. Recall that Buhari, during the 2015 election campaign, stated that he was going to govern for just 1 term. But last month in Abidjan, Buhari reportedly hinted at the possibility of seeking a re-election in 2019. When will the president dispel the confusion about his political future, Chidi? You might know that.
Well, I don't know. Well, I know that there is a bit of some people around the president are trying to get him to decide quickly that he will contest in 2019. And what I've always said is, look, it is the president's health that will determine whether he will run. Yes, he's in good shape now. We pray for him that he remains in good health. But if the president doesn't think that he's strong enough, he will not want to contest. He's that kind of person. He's honest, you know, to a fault. Remember when some people said that the president's first, that the president looked at merit in choosing his first set of aides. He came out to say, no, I only chose people that I had known for years. I wasn't looking at merit. So when even some Nigerians make up their minds to lie for the president, to show that they love the president on his own will just stay it the way it is. So I believe that that decision is his. At the appropriate time, he will decide. But as you can see with the crowd that received him yesterday, the people of Kano can't wait. It's difficult to say that there's anywhere in Nigeria where the president enjoys as much support as he enjoys in Kano. And the people of Kano really showed that yesterday. Some of them was standing on rooftops just to see him, endangering their lives, just to catch a glimpse of the president. And you remember even when he was campaigning in 2015, he couldn't, there were some projects that the president wanted to inaugurate. He couldn't even get to the site of those projects because the roads were jammed by people.
Flooded.
You know, so if he was in 2 minds about contesting, the crowd that he saw yesterday that received him so warmly, you know, must have told him that, look, those 12 million votes that usually come from the north are still there. So all he has to do is look for 3 million more in other parts of Nigeria, and victory will be his. I'm sure that's the way the president is thinking. And already some of our friends in the north are already singing their usual songs. Baba Buhari, Achizabe. I'm sure it's in their minds already. And some have coined that song in another way to say Baba Buhari is Chizabe. You know, just to taunt that Baba Buhari will win the election. You know, Mesensi Akazaba, that it is the man with the broom that has been elected. Some of them will sing Megaskia Akazaba, it is the man who speaks the truth, the man, the truthful one who has been elected. So he commands so much support in Kano. I know where he is. And I'm happy that the projects that were even inaugurated in Kano, especially the hospital, you know, convinces me that someday we'll get it right. Because if you see the equipment that the governor Ganduje puts in that hospital, there's nowhere in this country that you find that. I think it's a credit to the president that he was invited to inaugurate that project along with others.
All right, but while some say that the visit could have been strategic as well, even though he hasn't come out to say that he is campaigning 2019, but this visit could just be strategic to send a signal to the opposition that he has a stronghold in Kano.
Well, one may not be sure of the real motive behind the visit, but there clearly are unintended consequences in the sense that Kano has always been the most important city electorally in the north. And this is just by history. And I think President Buhari has always received huge support. In fact, he has a charmed audience in Kano. In 2011, he had, I think, about 59% of the votes in Kano town, in Kano state alone. And the last election, 2015, out of 2.8 voters, he had 1.9, almost about 75%. So what I saw in Kano yesterday was an indication that that consistency remains intact for him. And it will be very difficult to dislodge him. More so that the governor of that state is also a strong ally of the president. So it was his own interest to ensure that the population of people that will come and visit him was so hooked that it will also, you know, impress the president, you know, who was his guest. So I think it was a clear message that the president is likely to contest for the election, and that if he contests for 2019 election, his most strategic, you know, political base, you know, is not ready to abandon him. So, and I think it's quite important for those who want him to contest that. I mean, if people have come out stoning him and not, they have been a different game. But I think what happened yesterday was a kind of encouragement for the president.
Even though he hasn't stated it clearly, but could this be something to change his mind, to say, look, let me go ahead with this, seeing that people are showing him the kind of support
even if he has not said it, if you look at the APC, President Buhari is like the main actor, that if he leaves the stage, it's probably going to affect the number of the audience, because most people voted for this party because of his person.
Yes.
So, and I'm not sure the party has been able to build a credible alternative within the party itself.
No.
So, in terms of the calculation of balance of forces, it appears to be the candidate to beat in that. And I don't think anybody will come and challenge his authority in that party as far as the presidential election is concerned.
Jude, could that be the reason why the pressures are coming, that he should go ahead to, come out to contest for 2019?
Yes, because they are saying that some people are already showing signs that when that time comes, they will throw their hat in the ring. So what they are trying to do is get the president to show interest so that they will know that there's no vacancy in Aso Rock. Within his party, there are a few people who are also interested, people like Kwankwaso. So you will find that the strategy of the Buhari people, those fiercely loyal to the president, their strategy is to get the president to show his hand quickly so that people like Kwankwaso would leave the party knowing that if the president is interested, they don't stand a chance, so that people like Kwankwaso can be chased out of the party to maybe the PDP and other, or even the Sarakis of this world who could be eyeing that seat, can know quickly that, look, the president is interested And when he's interested, he's the alpha male. The alpha male does not brook any form of challenge, you know, in the animal kingdom. So they know that once he's interested, they don't stand any chance. Nobody in the LPC at this time commands the kind of support base that he has, you know, especially in northern Nigeria. And I can tell you that even outside the north now, because he's been president for 2 years, and because he's been trying to reach out to some parts of the country, he also retains some measure of support in other parts of the country, which makes him, in the event of an election, which makes his victory assured. I do not see, given even our kind of politics, I do not see how Buhari can be defeated in the 2019 election. In the primaries, I do not see him being defeated. In fact, if we are not careful, he could be declared winner of the primary by proclamation. You know? So the chances are very good, but in my view, it is the president's health. It is his president's health. Nobody knows tomorrow. I don't know the nature of his ailment. I know that. I just know that if the president doesn't think he's strong enough at that time, as a honest person, he would tell his party that he's not going to contest. I guess that's why it's even taking his time.
All right, we need to quickly take this break and return to talk more on the Hangout. Stay with us. It's still the Thursday edition of Journalist Hangout. Quickly, before we move on, the president reaffirmed his usual statement that I belong to nobody, I am for nobody or everybody. What does that send any message quickly, Wale?
Well, it's the old rhetorics, which is said during the election and repeating it again. Well, he's probably trying to let people know that, I mean, going to Kano doesn't really mean that, you know, because that's his place anyway, you know, so that is for Nigerians, it's ready to serve the interests of everybody, irrespective of ethnic or, you know, religious, interests. So I think it's a political statement he has made over and over again, you know, but realities are different things. Okay,
Jide, quickly, we need to move to the next one.
I think the president should stop saying it's for
belong to everybody.
It belongs to everybody. No, it doesn't belong to the looters in our society. It belongs to the decent Nigerians who want progress for their country. You know, it should stop saying it belongs to everybody. No.
Okay. Moving on, battered wife of former President Goodluck Jonathan Patience heaved a sigh of relief on Tuesday when a federal high court sitting in Abuja vacated an order freezing 16 separate bank accounts way back on May the 30th. The accounts contain an aggregate sum of $5.8 million or 3.5 billion naira. For the upteenth time, the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, has its nose bruised in the anti-graft crusade. Jide, let me start with you again. The EFCC failed to conduct its investigation into the infractions involving the 16 accounts.
No, not that they failed in conducting investigations. They failed in providing evidence of crime committed by the first lady, former first lady. You see, when they got an order of interim forfeiture, it was to last for 90 days. During the 90 days, you are supposed to work hard, find cast iron evidence with which you can now ask for permanent forfeiture. But during this time, they couldn't find the evidence that they needed. So they wanted to ask for more time. And Patience's lawyer told the judge that, look, they have not provided enough grounds to be given more time to look for evidence. And the judge also reasoned that, yes, you've not been able to link her with any crime. You remember that some of these accounts were actually even run by NGOs. There is an NGO that the former president's wife had been a trustee of since 2006. You know, so when Jonathan was a deputy governor. So there are other people, when you freeze accounts like this, there are other people who also suffer as a result, because she's just a trustee, the NGO has staff and all that. So the court will bear all of this in mind, because there are other companies involved, companies linked to her, and which also had other people, you know, who benefit one way or the other. So I think that the case is still on. In January, the case will resume. If the EFCC is able to prove that those monies in those 16 accounts are proceeds of corruption, even if Patience goes to this account now and spends all the money, she will have to return all the money that she has spent. Maybe, I don't want to suggest what she will sell, but she will have to return all that was there, even if she spends everything. Right now, she has the liberty to begin to spend from it, you know, because the lawyer was claiming that, so much pain has been inflicted and all that. She has the liberty to spend on it, but the case is still on. So if in the end, the EFCC does its job, and they were able to prove that those monies were proceeds of crime, then she will be in trouble. Whatever she spends, she must bring it back, in addition to possible jail term.
Well, in 90 days, that's about 3 months to carry out the investigation. But the EFCC was unable to provide as much evidence. What really could have been the problem here?
Well, sometimes it's very, very difficult to hit the nail on the head.
Because, sorry, this is not the first time that we are seeing cases like this that is thrown out. We have cases being thrown out of court for lack of evidence.
Well, I think most of the time it's very difficult to prove cases of crime, especially for people that are not, you know, public officials. For instance, the office of the First Lady is not recognized by the Nigerian Constitution. So, and we have had, but my concern is that, you know, there are 3 ways I look at this issue. We're talking about the legal aspect. There's also the moral angle. When you are a First Lady, and after spending some years in power, and then we have almost every time, you know, millions of dollars surrounding, you know, issues built around you, one should begin to ask the question, that should a First Lady have access to this kind of stupendous wealth? We've had First Ladies since 1960, more than about 15 of them. But this is the first time we're having so many controversies built around, you know, Mrs. Jonathan, who was a civil servant in the Rivers State Civil Service, and was already deployed to Bayelsa State when her husband became the deputy governor.
That's on the moral side.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
So, but on this legal aspect, I think the EFCC needs to do more. Because if you get about $20 million in somebody's account, you need to have an effective intelligence system to be able to establish whether these funds is, you know, traceable to illicit, whether they are illicit funds or not. So I believe the EFCC needs to develop more capacity to be able to establish the fact that this money that is this woman's account, you know, are stolen funds. And if you are not able to do that, no matter this level of suspicion and all that, the court will not be able to, you know, give judgment in your favor. So it's left for the EFCC to be able to establish itself on a firm, you know, feet, so that, you know, this case can at least have an end.
All right, quickly, Jide, to wrap up the topic.
Yes, I think the EFCC should also always work hard. Before you ask for interim forfeiture, you must have done your due diligence, because it makes no sense for you to arrest people, for example, and then be begging the court to detain those people longer than necessary, so that you can use that time to hunt for evidence. It really, that is why the FCC always runs into problems. As we had now, The EFCC claimed that Maynard's son had 1.7 million in an account. And the man said, publish the details of the account so that Nigerians can know who indeed owned the account. The EFCC has not taken up that challenge since last weekend. You know, and Nigerians deserve to know because Nigerians screamed when they had that. So let's have these full details so that if the EFCC was wrong-footed by a whistleblower or somebody, at least Nigerians will know. Okay. But it needs to do much more due diligence. Otherwise, it will continue to get embarrassed in court.
All right, gentlemen, thanks for coming on the show. Well, that's all on Journalist Hangout. Join us tomorrow for another interesting episode of the program. Watch the repeat broadcast tonight at 11. You can also watch Journalist Hangout on other platforms showing on the screen and on YouTube at youtube.com/TVC News Nigeria. Our feedback channel is Journalist Hangout at tvcnews.tv. I am Veronica Daniel Boy. Bye for now and God bless Nigeria.